She could reset time, but every time she saved someone, it wasn't me. 1,000 loops, 1,000 betrayals. Taylor had died 99 times, and every single time, the woman he loved had killed him with her own hands. Yet, as he sat in front of the same bland bowl of unseasoned noodles on the 1,000th morning, he smiled bitterly. Not because he was alive again, but because he finally understood the truth. Helen wasn't saving him. She was saving Alex. Again and again. It was always the same bowl of noodles, the same brand, the same careless pour of boiling water. No seasoning packet, no garnish, no effort. Just soggy, flavorless strands in a chipped porcelain bowl. He stirred them slowly with his worn-out wooden chopsticks, watching the steam curl toward a face that hadn't truly smiled in over 3 years. Helen's voice drifted from the kitchen, bright and hopeful. "I'll be out in 5, just packing lunch for Alex." Of course, Alex. The same Alex who was fated to die tonight. The same Alex Helen had been trying to save for thousands of loops. The same Alex for whom Taylor had been stabbed, crushed under a car, suffocated, drowned, even shoved off a balcony, while Helen never shed a tear for him, never held him while he bled, never asked if he was okay after she brought him back. But for Alex, she did everything. Bribing police, negotiating with criminals, infiltrating labs, sacrificing years of her own life. Every rewind cost her 1 day. She thought Taylor didn't notice. She was wrong. He remembered everything. Every death, every morning, every discarded bowl of noodles. The curse of her power was that she erased everyone else's memories, but his stayed intact. Taylor looked down at the noodles. The broth was barely warm now. Even heat refused to stay in this recycled timeline. From the kitchen came the metallic snap of a lunchbox. "I have something important tonight," Helen called. "Don't wait up." He didn't respond. His throat was thick with unsaid words. He simply got up, walked to the balcony, and retrieved the umbrella she always forgot in Loop 1000, placing it by the door. Then he added the car keys to the drawer by the TV. Helen emerged a moment later, wearing the soft beige coat Alex had once complimented. Her hair was curled, again, for Alex. She paused when she saw the umbrella and keys. "Oh, thanks," she said, faintly uncertain. "You'll need them," Taylor replied, without emotion. A flicker of confusion crossed her face. "I'll try to come back early tonight and make you a real dinner." Taylor nodded once, as he always did. "Sure." As the door closed behind her, he turned back to the untouched bowl of noodles. For 1,000 mornings he had eaten these noodles. For 1,000 days he had watched the woman he loved choose someone else. This wasn't heartbreak, it was erosion, a soul ground down to dust by misplaced love. Today was the last loop, the final attempt. Taylor had made a decision. He wasn't the loud guy at parties, cracking jokes or commanding attention. He leaned against the wall, observing, listening, thinking. Not shy, just silent by choice. In college, people barely remembered his name. Professors noted only his diligence. Classmates called him that quiet guy. He didn't mind, not until she noticed him, Helen. She wasn't loud either, but she carried a presence, calm, confident, unapologetic. He first saw her in the library, standing on a stool to reach a book. I silently handed it to her. "Thanks, tall guy," she said. That was it. A week later, she sat beside him in class. She started bringing him coffee, casual gestures that felt monumental to him. He drifted toward her slowly, quietly, inevitably. Then she saved his life. During a summer river swim, his leg cramped, the current strong. Just as he slipped beneath the surface, a voice cut through the water. "Don't be afraid. I'll save you." He woke up on the college steps, confused, dry. The day hadn't happened yet. Helen appeared, arms crossed, frowning. "You're not going to the river. It's dangerous." "How do you know?" he asked. "I just know. Avoid it." She walked away. That night, news broke about another student drowning in the same river. not him. Helen had changed something. She had saved him. Their relationship blossomed after that. Taylor asked her out. She said yes. Quiet dates, coffee, bookstores, shared umbrellas. He called her Time Lady, unaware how literal that title would become. It wasn't until their second year that she told him her secret. Lying on the grass outside the astronomy building, she asked, "If you could fix one mistake, what would it be?" He thought, "I'd tell my mom I loved her before she died. I didn't. I argued instead." Helen nodded. "I went back once to save you." He blinked, puzzled. "What do you mean?" "That day at the river. I wasn't there the first time. You drowned. I reversed time. Took 5 tries to get it right." He waited for a punchline. None came. She explained simply. She could rewind time to the previous day. Every use shaved 1 day off her life. Everyone else forgot the resets, except him. Then came Alex, Helen's childhood friend. Charming, charismatic, like a brother, she said. Taylor believed her at first, but when Alex's life was threatened, car bomb, corporate sabotage, Helen panicked, reversing time dozens of times. Each time, Taylor remembered. He tried helping, investigating, warning Alex, but Helen never included him. She acted alone. On loop 43, he begged her to stop. She slapped him. On 72, he blocked the door. She stabbed him. On 99, she silently slit his throat while he slept, reversed time, and did it all over again the next day. It wasn't hate, it was indifference. She treated him like an obstacle between her and her mission. Every morning, the same unseasoned noodles, lukewarm, ignored. Taylor stopped speaking, stopped intervening. He just watched, listened, waited. Love, he realized, was trapped in a loop, a curse disguised as devotion. He started escaping for air at a nearby cafe, where he met Rosie. The first time, a flower pot nearly fell on her. He pulled her out just in time. She offered him coffee in thanks. Over the next 100 loops, he kept saving her, day after day. She never remembered him, but she always smiled like it was the first time. Helen never noticed, or if she did, she didn't care. In public, they looked like a couple. She smiled for photos, posted curated moments, all for Alex. Taylor stayed, not out of weakness, but because he remembered the first time she had saved him, and he still hoped, maybe, she'd come back to him. But she never did. On the 1000th loop, Taylor realized something Helen hadn't considered. This reset was his, too, and this time, he wasn't going to let it happen again. He started quietly, small gestures, switching off her alarms, leaving Alex's files in front of her with "check again" scribbled in pencil. She adapted without suspicion, as if he were furniture, background noise. He escalated. One morning, he stood in front of the door. Helen gave him a confused look. "What are you doing?" "You don't have to go. We can find another way." She blinked, then smiled, indifferent. "I'm going to be late, Taylor." He didn't move. She sighed, pulled a fruit knife from her bag, and stabbed him through the abdomen. No hesitation. She stepped over him, blood soaking the carpet. Hours later, time reset. He woke with fresh clothes, a mended body, the same plain bowl of noodles waiting. "Eat before it gets cold," she said. He did, silently. Screaming wouldn't change anything. Not anymore. Helen had killed him so many times he'd lost count. Quick or messy, desperate or calm, the intent was the same. Remove the obstacle, reset the day, try again. She said she loved him, smiled in photos, but those moments were gone. Anniversary photos, shared memories, smiles, all reduced to rote repetitions. Taylor knew now. She wasn't saving him. She was trapped, obsessed with saving Alex. And for the first time, he was done being part of her loop. Alex laughed. "You sound insane. Helen told me you've been acting weird lately." Of course she had. Taylor walked away without a word. A few hours later, Alex's car exploded. Helen reversed time again. That was loop 63. By the 900th loop, Taylor had stopped speaking entirely. He moved like a ghost through each reset, washing dishes, folding clothes, smiling when she looked, looking away when she didn't. She never noticed. Her touch had gone from affectionate to mechanical. Her goodbyes lost their warmth. Her promises lost their meaning. She was always somewhere else in her mind, somewhere next to Alex, and Taylor? He was the man standing behind the glass, always present, never seen. Then, one afternoon, loop 701, he stepped out of the apartment early. No plan, no goal, just instinct. He wandered into a side street near the market and noticed a small, cozy cafe tucked behind overgrown hedges. Inside, a woman with short, dark hair was arranging flower vases on the tables. A loud crack above drew his attention. A flower pot on a balcony was teetering. Taylor saw it fall. No time to shout, he moved instinctively, grabbed the woman and pulled her away just as it shattered where she had been standing. Her eyes went wide. "You just—" "Thank you. That was close," she said, exhaling. Taylor exhaled too, for the first time in months. "Lucky timing," he muttered. She smiled. Simple, honest. Not for social media, not for obligation, just real. "I'm Rosie," she said. "Come in, coffee's on the house." He hesitated, then nodded. That was the start of something he hadn't expected. Every loop he returned to that cafe. She never remembered him, but every time she smiled like he mattered. He never told her about the loops, never told her about Helen. He didn't need to. With Rosie, time felt slower, softer, gentler. He looked forward to that moment every day. The coffee, the conversation, the 5 minutes of peace. She shared her dreams, wanting to travel, to see Iceland, her dislike of black coffee even as she served it. Taylor didn't respond much. Listening was enough. Sometimes he forgot what loop it was. Sometimes Helen noticed the lingering smile on his face when he came home. "Did something good happen today?" she asked once. "Just had a decent cup of coffee," he shrugged. "You're getting boring, Taylor," she said, rolling her eyes. That was loop 812. He died 2 loops later. Helen had grown impatient again. By the 900th loop, Rosie had become the only stable part of his world, a single variable that didn't shift, break, or betray. Meanwhile, Helen had become a stranger in his own home. She didn't laugh, cook, or look at him the way she used to. She left before sunrise and returned after midnight. Taylor once caught her staring at a photo of Alex and his team, tracing the outline of Alex's face. "I owe him everything," she said when she noticed him watching. "You owe yourself something too," Taylor replied. She didn't respond, just turned away. The next day, she killed him again. By loop 955, he no longer woke up surprised. He simply rolled over, stared up a ceiling, and said nothing. Helen didn't even glance at him as she left. But Rosie still smiled at him as if it was the first time they had met every single time. Her kindness reminded him he wasn't insane. Love wasn't supposed to be endless repetition, sacrifice without return, or bleeding quietly in 1,000 different ways. It was supposed to be soft and loud in the right moments and felt. On loop 975, Taylor watched Rosie make tiny animal shapes out of the foam in his coffee. A bear, a leaf, a heart. "You're quiet today. Tired?" she asked. "Yeah, just tired of the same day." She laughed. "Tell me about it. I work in a cafe, remember?" He didn't respond. He just looked at her, the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled, sleeves rolled up and humming off-key as she wiped tables. Something inside him shifted. He hadn't loved Helen in a long time. He'd only been surviving her. Maybe love didn't have to be pain on repeat. Maybe kindness didn't need memory to be real. Rosie didn't remember him, but he remembered her. And in a world that refused to move forward, she was the only thing worth moving towards. Taylor folded his shirts precisely the way Helen liked to use. Sleeves tucked, collar shaped, seams aligned. Drawer clicked shut. Apartment silent except for the distant clink of Helen preparing lunch. Pan-fried rice, the kind Alex liked.
She still hadn't looked at him since morning.
He picked up a framed photo, the one from their 3rd anniversary. Helen laughing, arms wrapped around his waist, he holding up a cupcake. They had been happy. She had said, "With me around, you'll never be in danger again." He had teased back, "Unless you're the danger." She'd smiled, "Then I'll just rewind and undo the mistake." Not funny anymore. Taylor tore the photo down the middle, carefully folded his half into his pocket. Her half went gently into the drawer she never opened. He felt no anger, just a vacuum, an absence of anything that had tethered him to this woman, this place, this loop. He grabbed the umbrella from the balcony railing. Helen stepped out of the kitchen, snapping the lunchbox shut, heels clicking. "I'll be back tonight. Important night." Taylor held out the umbrella. "Weather says it'll rain." She hesitated, then smiled. "Oh, right, thanks." Her eyes didn't meet his. She didn't notice the umbrella had always been forgotten for 999 loops, and she certainly didn't notice that he had memorized her routine while she hadn't noticed him for nearly 3 years. He watched her leave, beige coat fluttering. No Grant's back. He didn't eat the noodles. Instead, he grabbed his jacket, locked the door, and walked to Rosie's cafe. The bell jingled as he entered. Cinnamon, steamed milk, familiar and comforting. Rosie was behind the counter, humming, sleeves rolled up, cleaning a glass. Above, a flower pot teetered. Taylor acted instinctively, pulled Rosie to safety, and the pot crashed where she had been standing. "How did you?" she asked, wide-eyed. "Just a feeling," he said. "You're like a human reflex," she laughed. "Or maybe I've just been here too many times," he said. She tilted her head. "Have we met?" Taylor smiled, not quite reaching his eyes. "Coffee? Juice?" she offered. He tried something different today. She returned a minute later with orange juice, crushed mint. "New experiment. Want to be my guinea pig?" "Sure," he said. He sipped. "Good." "You hesitated. Long week?" "It's Tuesday," he said, watching condensation slide down the glass. They talked, nothing urgent, nothing special. She told him about the landlord, the broken espresso machine, a cat trying to steal a croissant. Taylor watched her. Every movement, every expression, every smile. Unrehearsed, alive. The only part of his loop that felt real. After 20 minutes, he stood. She handed him another juice bottle. "Take it for the road. You seem like you could use a second round." He nodded. "Thanks." She didn't know how many times she had done this, but he did. Each time, her kindness never changed. On the walk back, he passed the bookstore where Helen used to wait for him. She hadn't stepped inside in 2 years. He paused, looked at his reflection. Sunken eyes, tense shoulders, sharper jaw. 3 years. 1,000 days. 1,000 deaths. He had lost himself in increments, in unsaid words, skipped moments, ignored love. Each reset rebuilt his body, never his heart. Pain didn't vanish, it compounded. Helen treated it like a test she couldn't fail. Saving Alex was the only equation. Taylor was just a variable. She had once said, "I'll save you for a lifetime." And she had, once. Then never again. Now on loop 1000, Taylor understood he wasn't here to stop her anymore. He wasn't trying to change her plan. He wasn't hoping she'd come back. He was here to end it. Not with violence, not with pleading, but by letting go. Tonight, she would run towards Alex, towards the bomb, towards her obsession, but Taylor wouldn't be in her way. Not this time. He had already called the police, tracked the real bomb, prepared the one thing Helen never considered, solving the problem with clarity. She had used 1,000 chances to save Alex. Taylor would use one to save himself. He touched the folded half of their photo in his pocket, then walked back into the apartment, turned off the lights, and sat in silence. Midnight was only hours away. After that, time wouldn't reset. If she failed, it would be final. If she succeeded, maybe she'd notice that the one person who stood by her for 3 years was gone for good. The sky dimmed as Taylor parked across from Apex Tower, the sleek corporate building where Alex worked. The same place he had died again and again. But the 1,000th time would be different.
He adjusted the dial on a small black box in the passenger seat, a portable signal jammer. Illegal, dangerous, and absolutely necessary. Helen always tried to solve everything emotionally. Taylor had learned to solve it tactically. Jacket in hand, he stepped into the cool evening. He spotted her, Helen, pacing near the revolving glass doors, hands clenching and unclenching, eyes darting. She looked thinner, fragile, paper-thin, worn down by time itself. She didn't notice him until he was a few feet away. Her head snapped towards him. "Taylor, what are you doing here?" He handed her the jacket. No words. "It's going to get cold. You always forget this loop." She hesitated. "You're acting weird again." He smiled, emotionless. "You'll get used to it." She opened her mouth to argue, then froze, eyes locking on a sleek black sedan pulling up. Alex's car. The moment collapsed. Helen surged forward. "Alex, don't get out!" But it was too late. Alex stepped out, halfway. The driver, not usual, pulled a handgun from the glove box, aimed at Alex's chest. Back inside, the man barked. "You too, big boss. Now tea." Taylor slid behind a planter, hand on the jammer. The pulse began, an invisible hum blanketing the area. Helen froze. The gunman dragged Alex and the KO towards the lobby. "If anyone moves, I'll blow the car and we all go down together," the hijacker threatened. Helen stepped forward, desperation in her voice. "Please, I have money, whatever you want. Just don't hurt him." The man sneered. "You can start by proving you're useful. Take off your clothes." Taylor saw it in Helen's eyes, a flicker of resigned shame. She had been here before, countless times, and every time it broke a little piece of her. She reached for her shirt buttons. Taylor stepped out from behind the planter. "She's not doing that." The gunman turned towards him. "Who the hell are you?" Taylor didn't flinch. "Someone who's done this too many times." He walked forward calmly, hands visible, jacket open. "You're not detonating anything. I jammed the signal. Your remote won't work." The hijacker's eyes narrowed. He pressed the button again. Nothing. Taylor's words were calm, cold. "I don't think you understand how a jammer works. It blocks everything. Your bluff is over." Enraged, the hijacker shoved the CEO to the ground, yanking Alex forward and pressing the gun to his temple.
Helen screamed, "No!" and lunged forward. Taylor grabbed her wrist. "Let me go," she cried. "He's going to—" "Taylor, please," he said, holding her tighter. "He won't kill Alex. He's a pawn, a hired actor. The second he fires, snipers take him out." "You're insane," she spat, struggling. "What are you even talking about?" "I called them," Taylor said quietly, 2 hours ago." Helen froze as the gunman raised the weapon again. Then a sharp crack rang out. His head snapped back. One shot, clean, surgical. The man collapsed like a puppet with its strings cut. Screams erupted. The CEO crawled away. Alex stumbled backward, panting, wild-eyed, but alive. Helen stood in stunned silence, breath frozen in her throat. Across the rooftop, a sniper lowered their weapon. Moments later, officers flooded the area. Taylor let go of Helen's wrist. She turned to him slowly, as if gravity were pulling her toward something she didn't want to face. "You," she whispered, voice trembling. "You knew?" He nodded once, all 999 times. Her lips parted, but no words came. Taylor took a slow breath. "I died in 99 of them, some fast, some slow, but I remember everything." Helen's voice cracked. "Then why? Why didn't you stop me?" "Because you saved me once, back at the river. You gave me another chance. I thought if I gave you enough time, you'd come back to me." A tear slipped down her cheek, not a sob, just fractured. "But I realized something. You weren't saving Alex out of love. You were saving him to rewrite a past you couldn't let go of. And you forgot something important." "What?" she whispered, barely able to speak. "That I was still here." She lowered her head, hands trembling. "I thought I was alone. I didn't know you remembered. You never asked." "I didn't mean to hurt you." "You did anyway."
Silence stretched between them, broken only by distant sirens and the static hum of the disabled detonator. Finally, Helen looked up. "So, what now?" "I've repaid what I owed," Taylor said. "You saved me, I saved him. We're even." He turned to leave. "Hold on, Taylor," Helen called, voice cracking. He paused, didn't turn. "Don't go, not like this. Please, we can fix this." He closed his eyes. "There's nothing to fix, Helen." She collapsed to her knees. Taylor walked away, blending into the dispersing crowd. "Not once, Taylor, please," she whispered, her once proud voice now fragile under glass under pressure. She stood alone in the courtyard outside Apex Tower, coat slipping from her shoulder, expression hollow. Taylor didn't look back. "You're walking away just like that, after everything?" she called, clutching the lunchbox. He didn't look back. "You broke up with me earlier today, remember? You said you weren't my girlfriend anymore. I'm just honoring your wish." Her throat tightened. "I didn't mean it. I was desperate. You were stopping me." Taylor spoke quietly. "Even when you were killing me for it." Helen reached for his sleeve, weak. "You love me. You said you'd marry me, protect me for a lifetime. You said—" "And I did, for 1,000 days, while you ran toward another man." "I always came back to you," she said, voice shrill. "You came back to the apartment," he corrected. "Not to me." She opened her mouth to argue, then froze. "Hey, Rosie." Rosie stood at the edge of the sidewalk, hair messy from the wind, apron still on. She looked at Helen calmly, then slipped her hand into Taylor's. Warm, real, steady. "Sorry I'm late." Then, polite but firm, she smiled at Helen. "Is this the woman who's been harassing you?" Taylor glanced at her. Helen's face twisted. "What? What is this?" "I'm his girlfriend," Rosie said, playful but sharp. "Got a problem?" Helen blinked, staggered. "You're together? You and her?" Taylor met her gaze. "To you, it's been 1 day. To me, it's been 1,000. Helen laughed, loud, unhinged, echoing across the street. "You think it's over just because you made it past midnight? Taylor, you don't know me at all." Taylor narrowed his eyes. "What are you talking about?" "I've never told you one thing, one final failsafe. I can rewind, not just to yesterday, but to any day." Taylor froze. "I've never used it," Helen continued, voice steady, "because it costs everything. Years of my life, my strength, maybe even my mind. But I held on to it for a moment like this." Rosie's hand tightened around Taylor's. Helen stepped forward, her presence terrifying again. "You think you've beaten me? You get to walk off into a future I don't exist in? You don't get to erase me." "You don't have to do this," Taylor said, panic blooming. "Oh, but I do," she hissed. "If I can't have you, no one will. I'll go back 10 years before she ever met you. I'll make sure she never enters your life. I'll kill her if I have to." "Stop," Taylor warned, stepping in front of Rosie. "I warned you," Helen whispered. Her skin glowed faintly, hair whipped in a wind that hadn't existed. Time itself seemed to ripple around her. "No, Helen, please," Taylor shouted. "This isn't love." Her body trembled, face twisted in pain, but she smiled. "Love doesn't matter. Control does." Taylor turned to Rosie. "If you remember anything at all, meet me at 36 Chin Street, Jiangnan, 10 years ago. I'll find you, I promise." Before he could finish, the light swallowed them. Darkness. When he opened his eyes, the world was quieter, dimmer, strangely warmer. He sat on concrete steps outside a red brick high school. Birds chirped, a soft breeze stirred his collar. He looked down, his hands smaller, clothes looser, body lighter. A cell phone rested in his palm. The date made his breath catch. 10 years ago, summer, right after his college exams. 17 again. He blinked. The reset had worked. Helen had dragged them back to a timeline neither belonged to. Shit, he muttered, pushing to his feet. Where would Helen go first? Would she try to find him or Rosie? He didn't know where Rosie lived yet, didn't even know her real name, just her face, her warmth, her voice. The weight of time pressed down on him, but he ran. Alleyways, fruit vendors, bicycles, children playing. He had to find her before Helen did. He had made a promise. The sun dipped low, orange shadows stretched across the street. He reached where 36 Chin Street should have been. The house wasn't there. Instead, a run-down bookstore. No Rosie. Panting, chest heaving, he heard it, the tap-tap of a cane. He turned. An old woman, bent and fragile, shuffled towards him. White hair, hollow cheeks, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Helen," he breathed. She looked up. "Do you regret it now? You chose her. You left me. Now you'll never have her either." Taylor didn't respond. Fists clenched. "I loved you," she said. "I still do." "You tried to erase her," he coldly said. "You gave up the last piece of yourself to destroy someone who never hurt you." Helen's knees buckled. She fell. Taylor stepped forward, hand raised, then froze. She wasn't a threat anymore. He lowered it. "Help me," she whispered. A shadow moved past them. A girl, 17, slight frame, canvas bag. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. He stared. Rosie, alive, as he remembered her. White blouse, gray pleated skirt, hair tied back. Sunlight behind her, golden, like memory made real. Helen saw her too, mouth open, silent. Rosie tilted her head. "You didn't win, Helen." She shook her head. "I rewound. I went so far back." "I know," Rosie said gently. "I let you." Taylor's heart skipped. "You're not the only one who can resist time loops. I remembered every version, every reset, every coffee, every awkward hello. I dodged the flower pot the last 500 times. Taylor barely breathed. "Why didn't you say anything?" "You weren't ready," she said softly. "You were still trying to love someone who had already let you die. I waited for this loop for you to finally break free. And you did." Taylor looked at Helen, tears streaming from her weathered face. I just wanted to undo my mistake," she croaked. "You did what you thought was love," he said. "I loved you so much," she whispered. "I know," he said, "but you didn't know when to let go." She closed her eyes. "Can I rest now?" Rosie looked at him. He nodded. Carefully, gently, he helped Helen sit beneath the sycamore tree. Rosie handed her the cane. "You won't be alone," Rosie said. "Not today." Helen managed a faint smile. Taylor stood, so did Rosie. Hands brushed, then interlaced naturally, as if they'd done it 1,000 times before. Behind them, Helen watched. For the first time in 1,000 days, Taylor didn't feel the weight of the world. A page had finally turned. The clock could move forward. They walked through the quiet